Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of this mini-series that I'm featuring on YouTube. For those who are not aware, I did write an article I called Junk Posts, and I kind of talked about the impact of the Locust lands on the current Pauper metagame, whether it be competitive or casual, and just talked about how these lands affected the format. So when doing this, we had a number of decks covered, and I really wanted to fill in the blanks. And we've seen 4 monocolored decks. We've also seen 4 of the guild decks, which would be the 2-color guilds from Ravnica. And I really wanted to take the time and fill in the blanks, but I didn't want to keep the article going forever and bore readers and whatnot. So thus the online series, the YouTube series, was born. And for those who did not catch it, definitely go to puremtgo.com. You may have to search for it, but check out the article. What I'm basically going to do is, every so often I am going to put up, and hopefully sooner rather than later, a couple of videos. The first one is going to be me building the deck. The second one is going to be me giving the deck a test run. So we're going to have to see how this goes. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and definitely feel free to leave me feedback on it. But this week we're going to start off with one of the decks that I really wanted to get to, one of the guilds. We're going to do the Rakdos deck, which is the guild from Ravnica that was red and black. Now we've seen success with Izzet Post and Dimir Post, and the black and red elements of those decks have been very strong. So I wanted to see what could be done to take those two and put them together into one deck and see if they're equally as strong. So start off building a deck. You can feel free to skip this part, but I'm giving it to you anyways. I always, will go through and I set up all my filters. I'm going to start by turning off my cards. This will take a minute, because I did not do setting this to Pauper first, but, unselect my card, setting it to Pauper, and then I'm going to sort by colors. Now, if you only want to work with what you have, feel free to leave my cards checked, but what I'm going to do for this series is just use the best cards available to me to build these decks, and then after building a deck, if I do not have the cards, I will definitely purchase them before making the video, and then take them through that way as far as the games are concerned. And I'm going to give it a test. If those games are too long doing a live com, I'll definitely do them otherwise as recorded plays as always. So starting out, we're going to search for here locusts. This will narrow you down to just the locust lands. Obviously going to be the starting point of any RakPost deck for RakPost for Glimmerpost. Now I'm going to search for Rakdos. Whenever I use a RakPost deck, and I mentioned this in my other video, that does not contain blue, I like to include 2 of these Ravnica bounce lands. These 2-color lands, come into play and force you to return a land card to your hand when you play them. So that gives you the ability to replay the Glimmerposts. Something that's very important. Now, the other card that is definitely important to any deck that is running the RakPost is going to be Ulamog's Crusher. This is a nasty little creature. Hopefully you can see this alright in the big screen here. But he's definitely an inclusion in all decks that do have the post lands. It makes him very easy to play, and he's very hard to deal with. I think we're going to throw in 3 copies. Oh, I'm sorry, 4 copies. Usually you do see decks running 3 is how I meant to say that. Now, when you look at red and black, you have a couple of options. Red on its own does very good at the burn strategy, spells that do direct damage, and at the same time, you have black, which is very good at discard. So that gives us some options as far as, stuff like Blightning, which is a combination of both. But what I really wanted to focus on is kind of an idea from the green decks and otherwise, the red post deck had this as well, but they really featured a main deck version of land destruction. So I wanted to kind of play with that in this deck, and we get a lot here. I'll search out target land. We get a lot of options for land destruction in these 2 colors. I kind of decided that I think I want to build kind of a toolbox of land destruction, because we get a lot in red, like Molten Rain here. Some of these just generic ones that just destroy lands. Lay Waste, I guess, is a better example, where that's all they really do. But then we get stuff like Poison the Well, which does damage to the land's controller, as well as Befoul, which is something that mono black decks have started to run in the sideboard now as an option for any kind of creature kill. If you're not needing it for the land destruction, you can use it to kill a creature, kind of thing. So I want to put together a toolbox. Let's see. Um, there are a lot of options for this. I really like Rancid Earth, so let's throw in a couple of those. That really works well against aggro decks. You know, if you get that ability to destroy a land and doing 1 damage to creatures, that can be a great thing as a combat trick in the second main phase, etc. Let's throw in some of these Poison the Wells. I think that's a great option to have. Befoul, like I said, is a nice one. I also like Earth Rift. Earth Rift is something that Is It Post decks run Sideboard as their option for the mirror match because of the flashback ability. Having this available to us, you know, this flashback cost is heavy, but with the Cloud Posts it balances it out. Let's see, this might be a bit heavy. You know what actually I want to run as well is going to be Fault Grinder. Now Fault Grinder is an evoke creature. Let's scroll over and see this guy. That allows you to destroy target land when it enters the battlefield. Hopefully you can see it all right here. Now, the thing with this deck is, and most decks that are running post lands tend to be a little bit creature light. Even the aggro versions in green are a bit creature light, and then have you know, options as far as the Aurochs to search out additional creatures and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to try and bring some of these in to kind of keep with our theme here. Now, the other thing I want to bring in is burn spells. I really liked the fact, and looking at that mono red post deck, they're running a full set of Rolling Thunders as well as 2 copies of Karavic's Torch. We'll just search out Torch here. And I kind of like that because you have increased your odds of drawing these. When you play Is It Post, you have options as far as searching these out and drawing a whole bunch of cards, which you're not going to get in these colors, but by increasing the number we run, it's going to increase the odds we draw them. At the same time, you get a lot of benefits. Rolling Thunder is something great against aggro because you can split the damage, and Karavic's Torch works pretty well against the control option. And I may shrink this at some point to maybe 3 Rolling Thunders, but we'll kind of edit after this. Let's see, what else do I want to add? Talking about card draw, we really don't get a lot of options in these colors. You could bring in the Faithless Lootings, but I really don't like that much discard. I'm not a fan of, you know, the Alchemy either, and that's something that's heavily run in the blue versions. So I'm going to bring in a full set of Ragers. You know, we're a bit creature light anyway, so these make a great draw option. Something that Mono Black has used for ages to kind of shore up their draw, along with stuff like the Sign in Blood. So we'll get those in there. I need a little more creatures. I kind of like when you run the mono green version and stuff like that, they can oftentimes run main deck Ingot Chewer. Oh, sorry, I'm going to run main deck Ingot Chewer, but they can usually run stuff like the Wickerbarrow Elder, which is main deck Artifact Hate. And that's something that's really nice to be able to pull that off. And this is another evoke creature. We have the ability to bring it in for just the 1 red cost, and that can be very helpful if you get a little bit screwed. That reminds me, we're talking about lands here. I kind of bring in the Expedition map. Now this is an artifact that I will admit I underestimated at first, but after running that Gruul version that I call Junk Post, and I use these maps, they're actually very helpful, not just for building up your Cloud Post base, but it also works very well as far as getting Glimmer Posts if you need them against aggro. I think I'm going to cut it down to 3 though, because we're already running out of space. You see it here, I added the non-basics. I knew that we're going to be in there first, but as far as the basics, I'll throw those in afterwards and readjust from there. I'm probably going to run about 23-24 land. That's usually where I sit. Let's see what else. Let's bring in some more burn. Obviously, the best one available to us is going to be Lightning Bolts. I don't know what else can be said for that. Even as it post runs, they will run a lot of Flame Slash, and that's definitely a better option for creature control, but I wanted to bring in Lightning Bolts because it gives us an option for, you know, other targets. Jeez, that's the word I'm looking for. We can, you know, throw that to an opponent's face to just finish the game after, you know, a turn where we throw out one of these big X spells. And let's also bring in, we have another nice option available to us in Firebolt. Now, Firebolt, at, you know, first glance is just a shock spell. I'll cut this back a little. And this is something that, yes, it is only doing 2 damage, but it generates something I've been talking about recently in the implied card advantage. This having flashback ability gives us basically 2 spells in 1 card. And that's going to definitely help us out. Like 2 damage may not be a lot, but the fact that we can use that to do a little creature damage or again finish off an opponent out of the grave could be important. But I have noticed we're getting a little more graveyard hate these days, so that might not be as great as it used to have been. I kind of want another option for killing crushers. If you find yourself in some kind of mirror match, you're going to need just like a direct creature kill, and these burn spells may not be enough. So let's see, we're going to search target creature. I know I could bring in something like Doomblade to answer that. Turn off artifacts. There's a lot of options in like double black. We could bring in edicts. That's not a bad choice. Oh, I know what I want. Demise. Being in red and black, I think we get a great option here in Agonizing Demise. So let's throw a couple of these in. This is again a heavy costed spell, but because we're running posts, it's not going to be so bad. You pay the ability and it deals damage to your opponent for the creature you controlled. So if you use that on a crusher, you're going to be able to do the 8 damage to your opponent, and that kind of fits well with our burn aspect. But now you see we're sitting at 54 cards, so we're going to have to cut this back a little. I know Thunder I wanted to cut back. That's definitely something that can easily go. We might be running a bit heavy on the land destruction package here as well. Let's cut Earth Rift down. I mean, when we have these flashbacks, it means that we have plenty of options as far as getting other ones. Let's get rid of a Poison the Well and a Fault Grinder. It's going to loosen up our creature base a little bit, but I think we can manage that. And let's move an Ingot Chewer to... let's move it to the sideboard. Like I said, it's a great option for affinity matchup, and it's great even actually in the mirror because you can get rid of stuff like prisms or equipments if need be, against the Bone Splitters. But having those main deck may not be such a great idea, at least in such a large quantity. Maybe I'll cop a foul back by 1. This is something I want to try out, is having this variety of land destruction. It may be something that during playthrough, this entire series is going to be just kind of seat of my pants, and you guys get a chance to see kind of my deck building process as well as the trial and error that comes with deck building. So you'll get a chance to see if a deck goes horribly wrong, and then I'll get a chance to kind of sum up what I thought about it and what changes might be made. So I'm going to cut these back, and I may find that running this variety of spells is not a good option. And it may be a better choice to kind of consolidate those. What else can we cut back? Let's reduce Lightning Bolt. We're sitting on 10 lands, so we'll run 23, so we need 13 basics, which will put... I'm doing live math. I think that'll put us at 60. Let's do Suggest. Now I always, 60, 23 lines, excellent. I always put these in first, and then I'll open up stats to kind of see whereabouts we're sitting. And definitely heavier on red, but do I want to reduce it down 1 more? Ooh, it's a tough call. I think I'm going to take a chance on this and keep it as Swamps only being 1 shorter. How many black cards am I running? 4 Ragers, 2 Demise, Foul and Rancid. Damn, this is tight. I really just don't want to find myself in a situation where I have to use Expedition Map to find a swamp. I think I'm going to leave it this way and just chance it. So let's see what we can do for a sideboard. Now, I do want to bring... I was talking about Graveyard Hate becoming a bit more of a thing. So I'm going to bring in the Fairy Macabre, whatever. The little fairy dude here. Gets rid of cards from the graveyard. That's going to be a great option, and could even be played, brought in against, Delver or something like that to have a flying blocker. Could be a nice choice. Let's bring in some of the staples. We'll bring in Echoing Decay for this Thorn matchup. Just bring that down. Let's bring in Pyroblast. It's another staple that you get when you're running red. And definitely an important thing with all the blue decks out there. Let's bring in... We need a board wipe. We'll bring in at least one Seismic Shudder. Now let's see. I want to bring in discard option. We do a lot of duress in mono black. It's kind of a nice thing to have that as a a targeted. You get to choose what they're discarding, but maybe to balance out the creature thing, I got another idea here. Let's bring in the Mournwelks. This is something you can evoke for 4, so that cost is not going to be too bad to get that going. And 2 cards is going to be a little harder than 1 to part with. But I may, if I run into this, I may find that this is way too slow being 4, because I guess kind of the nice thing about duress is if you get 1 in the early game, you can really take away the key cards that they need to get that storm going, and get that all put together. Let's bring in another option for the Crusher matchup. What do I want? I could bring in a third Agonizing Demise, but maybe I want something cheaper. Edict would actually be a really nice choice against the Infect. Let me try. I'm gonna go with Snuff Out. This is a card that works really great with life gain. So having this, you can easily pay the 4 life for it because you get the life gain off the Glimmer Posts, and it may not be so bad. What to do? 1 card short. I could bring in another Shudder, but that might be a bit much with the Echoing Decays. I could bring in another Mournwelk. What else can I use against Storm or Infect? Maybe I'll bring in a single Edict. Maybe... This is tough. Now, Chewers, 3 Chewers against Affinity plus some Lightning Bolts. That's kind of my answers there. Yeah, I think I want to bring in an Edict. Having it as a 1-of is not a great thing. But it would at least give me a little bit better chance against Infect. I think that's going to be a weak matchup if we come against it, for the simple fact that they get so many options for giving their creatures protection, so having a Lightning Bolt or Firebolt may not be enough to kill those creatures. Vines of Vastwood and the Apostle's Blessing are enough to really screw us up. So we'll give that a try and see what happens. But this is what we're looking at so far. Hopefully you guys can see this. Like I said, you'll check out the next video here, and we'll take this deck for a spin and see how it goes.